the moment our fellow geeks, dweebs, nerds, and other unfortunates have been fervently waiting for has finally arrived. It's time for TMI, Confessionals of the Nerd Kind. And now, your hosts, Jeff Nerf Herder Chandler, Jim Kaiju Baker, and Mike Mjolnir Evans. And now, let's get on with the show. Here is TMI.
Hey, look, we're recording. Hey, we're back.
Very special episode today. If this was an after-school special, it would be like the Angel Dust episode. This is Game of Thrones.
Not the boy in the bubble.
Reading, writing, and reefer?
That's right, I forgot.
So before we bend the knee to all you listeners out there, we would like to welcome all of our new Podcoin listeners because we were lucky enough to hit that bonus spot last week, and we saw we've got a whole bunch of new friends out there.
Yes, so thank you. Welcome aboard. We'd like to do a shout out like on the Magic Garden. We'll just yell out everybody's name, but we ain't got time. So we know you're listening. We would love to hear from you.
Speaking of hearing from you, we have a number of different platforms that you can reach out to us on. If you would like to tell us how great of a job we're doing, that you hate us, but you just listen for the points.
Oh, that's true.
Let us know. Let us know. So first of all, you can reach us via email. The email address is tmipodcast2018@gmail.com. That's tmipodcast2018@gmail.com. We also have a Facebook page. If you search TMI Confessionals on Facebook, that might be the most direct route to get to us. But if you just look for the popcorn bucket and our smiling faces, you know you've made it.
You can actually go directly to our website, which is tmiconfessionalspodcast.com. And that has links to our Facebook page. It has links to our email, and it has links to our Instagram page, which is TMI_podcast2018.
So, Jeff, what do we got for news? Anything today?
Oh, we do have a couple little news nuggets, so let's get into it. Taika Waititi, he seems to be showing up on a weekly basis as well. He has just been locked in to direct a live-action Akira, which is set for release in 2021. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Japanese anime movie Akira.
Of course.
It is very heavy-handed, very dystopian, unsettling universe, but I think with his unique take on things, it could be interesting.
Is he booked into the follow-up to Thor Ragnarok yet? Or
I have not heard anything. Marvel's been very silent on any of this next phase stuff, so I don't know where Thor's going to go. We assume, based on Endgame, that he will end up in Guardians of the Galaxy.
That would be great.
Right? Imagine if he carried over. Maybe that's where Drogon was taking Daenerys. Oh, spoiler. He's carrying her to Asgard, New Asgard. The only thing I'll say about this Akira, which is I hope that they follow Disney's recently Aladdin, which just came out, the live action Aladdin. They actually did go ethnic appropriate actors, and they didn't really whitewash it. I think there's one Caucasian actor in this movie, and it's kind of played as a joke. So I'm hoping that Akira does the same thing because it really was an all Japanese cast.
Can you pronounce that director's name again? Because that was pretty impressive.
Taika Waititi. I actually had to be practicing that.
Taika Waititi.
I like it. It kind of rolls off the tongue now that you know it. This is being executive produced by Leonardo DiCaprio, which is very interesting. So we got that coming on the horizon. I also want to bring you guys back a little bit. May 24th, 1989, 30 years ago. Any bells, any movie that may have come out?
Let's see, 1989, Beetlejuice?
Beetlejuice, that was 88.
Indiana Jones. Batman.
Oh, 89, you're right. It was Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. That was the answer I was going for. Released 30 years ago. The last good Indiana Jones movie. And speaking of Indiana Jones, I guess Harrison Ford was interviewed, and they asked who should replace him. And do you want to know who his answer was?
Oh, I know this. I saw this article.
I have not seen this. What's it?
Go ahead, Jim.
He very grumpily stated, nobody.
Nobody.
Indiana Jones.
That's right. When he goes with me. And I'm sure the studio will think otherwise. But poor Shia LaBeouf is like crying in his oatmeal right now. He's like, but I think that's appropriate. I mean, he's very synonymous with the character. You can't,
Yeah, but would you retire Chewbacca after Peter Mayhew died?
Well, I think it's slightly different. I don't know. I mean, if you go back and reboot it, there was rumors for a while that Chris Pratt was a potential replacement.
No, I could go for that.
Teaser with the Kingdom Skull of the.
To quote Hall & Oates, I can't go for that.
Oh no! So we're all in agreement that Ford should. That's it. So we'll probably get one more movie out of him. He'll be 85 years old. We've joked about that before. A couple trailers have dropped. I don't know if you guys have seen this. Terminator Dark Fate with the return of Linda Hamilton and Arnold Schwarzenegger. There's a trailer now, and they're negating everything that came after T2.
Awesome.
Yeah. Executive produced.
That is awesome, yes.
By James Cameron. He took time out of his Avatar world to executive produce this, and it's being directed by Tim Miller of Deadpool fame. It looks more of the same. I hate to say it just based on the trailer, but then again, they're probably leaving all the good parts out.
I'll watch it right now.
There you go. Westworld season 3 trailer dropped.
Yeah.
And for a TV show about robots gone crazy in a theme park, this doesn't look like. I didn't even know it was Westworld until they rolled.
No, I saw this actually, and I had no idea what it was.
It's like a complete departure from everything, all the characters that they'd set up, because it was one of those things that I was half paying attention to until the logo pops up, and all of a sudden I'm like, what?
And then you see Evan Rachel Wood at the very end of the trailer.
Right.
Yeah.
I was like, awesome.
Listen, I'm all for changing things up, right?
I do have to admit, I was getting a little bit tired of it.
I dropped off halfway through season 2, so I can honestly say I did not finish that. I'm a quitter. And the only other news I have, which is June 8th, in person, you can come and see us at the Gallery at Crystal Run
in Middletown, New York. So any of our new listeners that are on the West Coast, you want to travel over, it'll be worth it. Yeah. It'll be worth it.
Incredicon. Next week, I'm going to give you a list of some of the other A-level celebrities that will be there. I think we're at the B level, maybe.
Are we rubbing shoulders with some A-levels?
We are. We have a follower, the gentleman who did the voice of Courage the Cowardly Dog, follows us on Instagram. So he will be at the show, and we will be hanging out with him.
Maybe we could get a little audio promo from him.
That would be genius. You're brilliant.
Bring your Sony Walkman so that's the record.
That's it. News out.
Okay, now I felt that we probably maybe should have repeated our theme this week 4 or 5 times just because of the gratuitous, endless nature of the Game of Thrones opening theme music. It just never ends. Dun, 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 dun. It's like it's a record that's just skipping over and over.
I have to say it's been stuck on my head all week, and it will not go away.
Until I read that the titles change every season, the actual visuals of the titles, I would just fast forward. After that first episode, I'm like, oh, there's no way I'm seeing this every week.
See, I will say that I think those opening graphics are very impressive.
So do I, yeah.
Yeah, I just started to appreciate them with this last season, with the shot of the crumbling wall. And it's season appropriate, story appropriate. So
yeah. Well, even the first 4 episodes, we'll get into season 8, but the first 3 episodes, you see the advancement of the White Walker army, and then after season 3, it kind of goes away. So they do update it even throughout the season.
I did not even catch, and I've probably watched it all the way through.
There's like little blue tiles that are unfolding as they pull back from the Great Wall, heading toward Winterfell.
Let's get into it.
Okay. Let's go. We're all Game of Thrones all the time.
There's many subplots, main plots going on during Game of Thrones throughout the seasons, and somehow or other they did manage to tie them all together going into the 8th. So talking about this in its entirety is just going to be a beast. I'm not sure how to approach this.
Most of my notes center around this last season.
Mine as well.
Yeah. Okay. I broke down each episode, to be honest with you.
But, we could go back. We could call back some favorite moments from the previous season.
Oh, we're going to hit favorite moments, favorite characters.
I just wanted to start things off by putting the question out there to you guys. What was your favorite plot line? throughout the whole series of Game of Thrones? Would it be the advancement of the White Walkers? Would it be Cersei and Jaime's soap opera going on in King's Landing? Would it be the Battle of the North? Would it be Ramsay and Jon Snow, the Battle of the Bastards? You know, there's so much to cling on to here.
Klingon. That's a different show.
You see, it's all connected, all our nerd stuff.
There you go. The one thread throughout all of this has been winter is coming. It's the onslaught, the on-take of these Night King and the White Walkers, and how are our heroes going to deal with them? So that was and over 7 seasons, that's been the build.
It has been the build. It's been very much in the background in the early seasons where you never really heard about it unless you went to the Jon Snow and the Night Watch and the Wall. That's when you heard about the Walkers. When the camera was elsewhere, nobody else knew about them. So that
no. As a matter of fact, and even it was like a myth. Nobody believed that these things actually existed. So I thought that was a cool aspect because it really was down and dirty and gritty and very political, and a lot of backstabbing machinations going on between these warring families. But then you had this almost mythical element being slowly woven into it. So to me, that was the cool end game.
I mean, I take a different take on this, which is, I think the show's so character-driven, that I was really like just following Arya through the whole thing from...
Arya's story arc is probably the strongest and the most consistent.
You know what's not consistent? It's how you pronounce her name.
Arya.
Some people seem to skip the R entirely. Arya Stark. It's kind of like Duran. It's all in the eye of the beholder.
I guess maybe it depends on where you fall in Westeros.
Yeah.
You have an accent there now. So we didn't even talk about Daenerys and her.
Yeah, that's another major one. Yeah. Some people that could be the main thoroughfare of this whole series.
Yeah, well, I mean, you were invested in this character from day one. You were by her side. You were right there with her.
I like the White Walker and the Night King, although I think they were kind of given short shrift in the end because you never got to know the Night King, what his deal was or what he was trying to accomplish. I was hoping to get a little bit more clarity around that.
Yes, that is. So we can get into, because one of the things we didn't talk about is this huge backlash almost from the first episode of season 8. There started a petition. Like 1.5 million people signed this petition to get these writers off the show and to have the HBO remake this season with different writers, which is just, it's unheard of.
Now that is, I think, going to an extreme.
It's entitlement to the nth degree. Which
I was completely satisfied with season 8. Ooh, a few little nibbles here and there that I can complain about, but I wouldn't go as far to say these people do not know what they're doing and they need new writers. The end of each of those episodes, sans maybe the finale, which was a very kind of an epilogue, kind of a end to the series. I was pretty buzzed after every single episode in this 8th.
See, I'm not going to be a hater, but like I said, I'm glad that we waited a week because I really had to sit with it. Now, Jim, you binged this entire series.
Yes.
Within like a month and a half. Yes. 2 months maybe at the most.
So there was absolutely no separation between me watching, say, season 7 and season 8.
Right. So I think in subsequent, now that the series is finished and someone wants to sit down and watch this series from the beginning, I think it's going to be a little more satisfying than the viewer who waited, who was completely invested and waited every year for the new season. We had to wait almost 2 years in between season 7 and 8. So your expectations were off the wall.
And you have to rely on memory to kind of call back these things that are very much important in season 8.
Yeah, but we were told, it's going to be only 8 episodes, but we're shooting in 10 countries. Each episode's going to be a 2-hour extravaganza, spare no expense. They were hyping up this last season that it was just going to be balls to the wall crazy. But none of these episodes are more than 80 minutes long. I've had numerous discussions with people who are like, all right, there's 6 episodes. You wasted an entire episode building up character development, which I think is a silly thing to say because, like Mike said before, this show is all about character development. And half of these characters are not making it through.
Without the character development, you wouldn't care about this.
No. And I think that is part of what happened, which is they adhered to the storyline for so long with George R.R. Martin's book series, and then it just got to the point where they had to kind of keep moving. Whatever he's doing over there is meandering, and these books, so he gave them, I guess years ago, Cliff Notes, here's where all the characters end up. But they just didn't have his fortitude or his finesse when it came to the wordsmith or to the character development. And season 8 is very rushed compared to the rest of this. I feel there was a lot of setup, and we're going to talk about this as far as other TV shows and finales. There's a lot of setup that just was not resolved. I'm not saying it was a bad. I'm not saying, it's not the ending I think we were expecting. But then again, why do I have to get what I wanted just because my expectations are there?
Now, were you expecting something specific, or just you're saying that because you were disappointed with the way that it played out?
Yeah, write the ending. What's your ending?
See, that's the thing, which is everyone's like, all right, well, then you go write the show. I just think that there was a level of expectation. There was a lot of build up to the White Walker, the Night King, and Bran being somehow connected that never paid off. Never.
The fact that the Night King was specifically going after Bran in Winterfell once he breached the gates.
Right.
And, then Arya got him, but you never knew.
Which is it's a phenomenal scene. I loved it. Arya had, we just said this before, Arya is a master badass character, and I think that her story arc was one of the greater moments, but it just never paid off. Jon Snow was brought back. He was resurrected. Why was he resurrected? Why was he brought back? Wasn't it Melisandre that talked about this prophecy of, I'm going to get this character's Azor Ahai, who is this mythological hero, somehow reborn to save the world from darkness with his flaming sword? Well, where was that? Where's this god of light that we all worshipped? Nothing. It wasn't paid. There was no payoff. I mean, Hound saw visions in the flame. Was he supposed to be this character? Or are we supposed to take that Jon killed Daenerys? Sorry, spoiler. Jon killed Daenerys, and then Drogon used his flames to melt the Iron Throne. Was that his flaming sword? Was that what were we supposed to read into that or not?
I didn't read any of that into that because I was just enjoying it.
So I think that flaming sword made an appearance every time Melisandre unbuttoned her corset.
Oh yeah, well that wasn't the only flaming sword. Like I said, the Bronn connection was really a bit of a letdown. And I thought Cersei's demise was...
Yeah, I was convinced that she wasn't dead, that they couldn't...
It was not cathartic. It was not cathartic as an audience you've absolutely despised this character. For 7 seasons, she is absolutely despicable, and yet she goes out in almost the most noblest of ways with her brother / lover by her side.
And their unborn child.
If she really was pregnant. I still didn't even buy that was true.
But I will have to say that probably my favorite episode of the series was the battle with the White Walkers.
That was episode 3 of season 8, which is called The Long Night.
And the rest of it
that's the one Mike was complaining about, that a lot of people groused that it was too dark.
Well, it takes place at night. So.
Well, yeah, you don't have electricity. But I get
electricity, right? But I just thought that was unrelenting, and to have 3 episodes come after that was just
a letdown,
kind of anticlimactic.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Because again, you're building up this confrontation, this war, this battle. You end season 7 with the Night King acquiring one of Daenerys's dragons and leveling the wall that's protected Westeros for however many millennia, and these guys are on the march. Visually, that was a spectacular episode. I don't take anything away from it, and I did like Arya coming out of nowhere and killing the Night King. I thought that was very impressive. But yeah, it just
because the way that they did it, because you thought she's dead.
Oh yeah, you think that she's dead numerous times, as a matter of fact.
I mean,
when he gets her by the throat, this is going to be her end. Because
we did see a fair amount of other characters go out. Ser Jorah Mormont, who is one of my favorite characters, he died. There's a bunch that died in this
on that particular episode. Yes, but I'm thinking that maybe we should tackle this subject by maybe just throwing out some names and some key scenes and getting our take on them, rather than try to go through this thing in its entirety. So first things first, Daenerys. Our thoughts on this character.
It's sad and it's heartbreaking, but I think, especially toward the end, it had to happen. She had to go out like that because she was becoming exactly what she was trying to protect everybody.
Right. And I believe that they were telegraphing this
early
on.
I think if you go back and now knowing how it ends, go back to the beginning. I mean, she really kind of laid waste to certain people. She had no compunction with, letting the dragons loose on people, kill these people, and then I'll free you.
But she was surgical with it.
To a point.
Because I liked the character through season 7 and then felt that this change in personality was just rushed in season 8.
Yeah, season 8 was very rushed.
I thought that she was getting more and more emotional and kind of losing control as the season
She was, especially, especially when she got to Westeros, because I think that she truly thought that she was going to be hailed as a hero. I'm going to come and I'm going to save you all. And they're like, yeah, we got Jon. We don't need you. And I did not buy the Jon-Daenerys relationship at all. They met each other for like a day, and suddenly they're madly in love. He's willing to give up everything for her. And I'm like, maybe he's got a thing with blondes.
Yeah.
Would you?
The whole Jon being a Targaryen aspect as well was kind of wasted on the end of the show.
Yeah.
Because it had no bearing on his character's outcome.
No, except for the fact that Varys paid the price for it.
Yeah.
But I liked it had no bearing, that he remained true to himself, remained true to a Stark.
Jon's demise at the end, being cast into exile, was the one thing that really stuck in my craw. Now here's this noble kid. Those two characters were the pinnacle of the show. Jon Snow and Daenerys Targaryen were the two that you rooted for.
I think Tyrion's more the...
Tyrion, I think the entire series is seen through Tyrion's eyes, and I think he is the best character. But even he was inconsistent because you had for 6 seasons, he was just master.
He was Hand of the King.
Right. And he was a tactician and, the whole thing with the dragon fire and all that other stuff during that one battle. And then he gets into, the hand of with Daenerys, and everything he says is wrong. And he's on the cusp of being killed every episode.
But this was also kind of a foreshadowing, I thought, of where Daenerys was headed, because even Tyrion was unsure of himself under Daenerys, if you think about it.
Oh, absolutely. And especially when you get into that episode, The Bells, where where they attack King's Landing. I think I did look into this. He's been nominated every year the show's been on the air for Best Supporting Actor Emmy, and he's won 3 times. And that episode, I think he did more without even saying anything. By this, you're looking at this character, and you can just tell in the shorthand, he conveyed so much with his facial expressions and his body language, just the horror that he was experiencing watching Daenerys. Just because he backed her, he basically said, "All right, I'm going all in. I'm gonna help you fulfill your destiny." And then she just went nuts, and we knew she was bad because she started wearing dark clothes.
No, Daenerys had to die or else her titles were just getting out of hand.
Right.
It was getting like a 15-minute odyssey just to introduce her to another character.
You stand in the presence of Daenerys Stormborn of House Targaryen, rightful heir to the Iron Throne, rightful queen of the Andals and the First Men, protector of the 7 kingdoms, the mother of dragons, the Khaleesi of the Great Grass Sea, the unburnt, the breaker of chains.
Are you done? Are you done?
So just to add one more title, it's kind of like, you know what? I'm not doing this. I'm out. Whew, I'm exhausted.
While we're talking about Daenerys, the attitude towards women and violence towards women, the characters, like if you're a woman, you're either a lady, a whore, or an assassin. There's no in between here, and you're going to get raped if you're any of those 3.
Yeah. Although the 2 strongest main characters were...
Now listen, but remember this, that Daenerys was given to Khal Drogo pretty much by her brother, so they could get the Dothraki to eventually march on King's Landing, and so she could take the Iron Throne back. So the wedding night, she is raped by her husband, Khal Drogo, and then the next time you see them together, he's her sun and moon and stars. So it's completely, they're giving you the message that if you treat a woman this way, that you will win her over. And the argument is put out there, well, it's historically accurate to medieval times. Really? Does the Night King exist?
I'm going to say it's the fantasy realm, so you really...
So yeah, I just wanted to put my 2 cents in there. I felt uncomfortable when the scenes came up like that, and it just makes you think that, okay, Are the writers not thinking about the ramifications of this, or they're just...
Well, is this true to Martin's writings? I would think that at least early on.
Yes, they are.
That these are.
Then there, Mr. Martin, I call you out.
He does have a captain's hat. He wears that everywhere. So.
But you know what, Jim? Even when you said that, because I mean, the scene in the woods with Jamie and Brienne, and when they're sort of going after Brienne, it was. I mean, I was like, right? I mean, it's just really
when they're captured in that camp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
and there's a scene like Mike. It's funny that you bring that up because I wrote down right leading up to that very scene. There's when Jamie and Brienne are on horseback, and it's before that they camp down tonight, and Brienne is almost raped. Jamie says to her,
"When we make camp tonight, you'll be raped. More than once. You'd be wise not to resist."
Would I?
Let them have what they want. What does it matter?
What does it matter? If you were a woman, you wouldn't resist. You'd let them do what they wanted.
If I was a woman, I'd make them kill me. I'm not, thank the gods.
That's what you're faced with in this reality, in this show. So
yeah, but she wasn't raped because wasn't she? She basically
no, she wasn't.
But a virgin.
That's
right?
Besides the point.
I know. I'm just not defending it in any way, shape, or form.
I do see the criticism there where people are upset that there's a lot of violence against women because there is a lot of it.
And there's a lot of nudity too, at least early on.
But I will also say this, my mother is a big fan of this show and does not object.
Yes, a lot of people don't. And I think that if a movie was released next week that had no bearing on Game of Thrones, that had this level of violence and nudity, it would be stoned to death in the public eye. But for some reason, this show gets a pass, and I'm not really sure why. But
it's called the Barbarella effect.
Yeah, you don't see this in the Lord of the Rings, right?
No,
you don't see Frodo going down on Nork.
Yeah, this show definitely gets a pass for some reason. Maybe it's the characterization. It's something. Yeah, something.
I don't know. Yeah, that's an interesting insight.
So I did think that Daenerys was on her way to this journey of Mad King.
Mad Queen.
Mad Queen. I didn't really think it would go down exactly the way it did because it was a little bit more intense than even I ever thought she could be. But
you mean that when she lets loose with the dragon?
Yeah, exactly. And as soon as they brought Jon Snow into, as soon as you realize he was a Targaryen, I think that the writing was on the wall for Daenerys at that point because I knew that they did that for some reason to maybe phase her out.
Yeah, you're right though. It's that these little ticking points that just kind of tip her over the edge because they did ring the bells. They did exactly what she'd set out to do, which is let's free everybody and just take out the bad guy. And for whatever reason, she just freaking snapped. I mean, they did kill her other dragon, so she only had Drogon left. And they did kill her best friend. But still, I will bring up the fact that this dragon went from just fire to Godzilla level nuclear blast. These buildings were exploding. And it's visual. And it's very intense. And matter of fact, I think that episode is more spectacular than the Long Night, the one you brought where they're actually fighting the White Walker army. Yeah, they're not surprised. I don't think it's surprising. I think it's disappointing because you as an audience have been here cheering her on the whole time. And
she had a noble cause.
Well, yeah, but at what point do you just she did a lot of bad things in the name of freedom, and as they say, the road to hell is paved with good intentions and. I think it just took over and she got to the point where even if she got what she wanted, it wasn't enough. And the Unsullied didn't care. They were with her.
The Dothraki surely didn't.
No. Yeah. That episode also had a really nice payoff with the Hound in the mountain.
Yes, it did. But let's hold on that.
All right. You're still going on characters.
Hold up. Before we move on any further into Westeros, let's give a shout out to Podcoin, our new platform, which many of you may be listening on right now. So here we go. Hey there, Nerdkinders. Yes, we just coined that phrase for all our loyal listeners, so wear it proudly. Did you know that you can actually get paid just for listening to this podcast?
It's true.
Wait, is this the Podcoin app we were talking about last episode?
Yeah, it's a free app that actually pays you to listen to podcasts.
I've actually been using it for a while now. So when can I expect my big paycheck to roll in?
Slow down there, Colonel Steve Austin. You listen to podcasts and earn Podcoin points while you listen. Then you turn those points in for gift cards at places like Amazon or Starbucks.
Hi, Starbucks blonde vanilla bean cocoa milk latte.
Or
Or there are multiple causes available to donate your points to. But since it's no secret that we here at TMI rely heavily on our local library systems to feed our classic movie feature, we thought it would be noble to get you, our listeners, to donate to the Books for Poor Kids charity.
All right. I like it. A podcast with a cause.
So rebellious.
Here's all you need to do. Step 1. Download the Podcoin app right now on your phone.
I'm assuming it's available for iPhone and Android?
Yes. Step 2. Use our code TMI NerdKind. That's TMI NerdKind to get 300 Podcoin just for signing up. Step 3. Subscribe and listen to TMI every Wednesday or any of your favorite podcasts. We don't mind, as long as you earn points. Don't forget to use our unique code TMI NerdKind. The more you listen, the more you earn.
Funny, I never thought of Jeff as a latte kind of guy.
Wah, wah, wah. Okay. A little bit. Let's talk about Jon Snow now. Let's move on to our next major character. Not the most conspicuous of starts, him being the bastard of Ned Stark. You know what's funny is that in this reality, you can just say, oh, yeah, here's my son, and this is my bastard. You know, right. Everybody has a bastard in this.
Right. There you go. Oh, you're the bastard. Yeah.
You're the bastard of the family. Oh, yeah, nice to meet you.
Oh,
yeah. So, yeah, from very small beginnings, Jon Snow joins the Night's Watch, takes the oath, takes the vow. And from that point on, you realize the show is kind of gravitating towards him. And then he's in store for great things.
Big things.
Yes.
Set up.
My favorite section of Jon Snow was when he was with Ygritte, when they were...
one of the wildlings.
On the other side of the wall.
You know nothing, Jon Snow.
She has to call him Jon Snow. She can't call him Jon.
Or John the Bastard.
I can just imagine domestic life. Take out the garbage, Jon Snow. Do the dishes, Jon Snow. There's no milk, Jon Snow. That would kind of drive me nuts after a while.
Yeah, right. Can you just call me John?
Do you think she calls him Kit Harington in the same way?
There's no milk.
I think Ygritte's sticking with her.
Yeah. So I loved him. I loved his character.
Yes, everybody did. Everybody loved Jon.
I mean, when he died, you're like, oh.
Yeah, that was huge. Right? I mean, I think you had Barack Obama at the time when he was in the office actually went and tried to get them to spill what was going to happen with Jon Snow. Like, it's like he didn't go looking for, Area 51 or find out about Bigfoot. He wanted to know, what Jon Snow really alive? Like, this is what you do with your presidential powers.
Now, unfortunately, I wasn't watching at that time when that actually aired, so I was unable to not know that storyline. Right. So that wasn't a surprise to me. So it didn't have the impact that I'm sure it did on you guys seeing it for the first time.
He tells a story, Kit Harington, that he got pulled over for speeding. I think it was in Northern Ireland. And the cop says to him, I won't give you a ticket if you tell me if you live or not. And so he actually told him, and the cop says, carry on, Lord Commander.
Did the cop bend the knee right there on the
bend the knee? Yeah, I think maybe he did. Oh, man. But that was the power of this show. I mean, I don't really think that you've seen a show like this since Lost, and you probably won't see another show like this to the level where it's, people who aren't even – now, I didn't watch the first season, but I had people who don't even care about sci-fi or fantasy telling me, you need to watch this show. This is up your alley. And I binged season 1. I bought the box set on eBay. And then immediately, I think it was like season 2 and 3 on HBO Go before I was caught up with the rest of the world. But yeah, people were completely invested. And I think that's part of the backlash, which is, like I said, there's a lot of setup. There was a lot of setup for Jon. He had a destiny fulfilled, and he didn't. Or did he? I don't know.
Yeah, does he become the king of the North? Really? The king of the wildlings up there?
I don't know. Yeah, you'll never know. I mean, so at the end of the show, you did... he asked Tyrion before they left, did we do the right thing? And Tyrion said, ask me again in 10 years. So is that a setup for like a season 9 in 10 years are going to get everybody back together? Where are they now?
Okay, what are our favorite Jon Snow moments? I loved the Hardhome battle when he has that stare off with the Night King while they're floating away and the Night King just raises his arms. and all the dead rays, and
Days,
Jon
all the
Snow
red.
knows at that moment that he has to do something.
Yeah.
Oh, I got to go Battle of the Bastards.
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 That is, yeah, because Ramsay was just oof.
Yeah.
That was a character. That was a character that was his ending was cathartic. That was beautifully set up. It was Sansa who orchestrated it, and that's what you wanted to see in Cersei's demise, and you did not get that. But you did bring up
Ramsay was almost comical in his evilness. It was just he was so over the top.
But
he was a great character.
Yeah.
Because you would, so compare him to Euron, who's almost like a cartoon villain.
The poor man's Ewan McGregor?
Yeah, basically. He just he really served no purpose. He was a douchebag. He really was. It wasn't like Joffrey. Joffrey was a great villain who was just a jerk. And Ramsay was just demonic. Ramsay was just like, you wanted to see him, especially after everything he did with poor Theon. You wanted to see him go down.
I know, isn't it? Oh, it's wild the emotion you have, right? When Joffrey dies, you're just like, yes, he so deserved that.
Yeah, right? And then to find out that it was
Diana
Rigg's character who orchestrated, and that was one of the finer. Like, she knew she was going to die. She knew, Jamie's like, oh, I put poison in your tea. Oh, okay. I just let Cersei know that was me. It was such a beautiful.
Joffrey, you definitely loved to hate him. Ramsay, you hate to hate him. It's just like everything is hate with Ramsay. It's like you cannot wait for this character to die.
Yeah, it was unsettling to watch some of the stuff that he unleashed on these characers.
Yeah.
Poor Theon. Theon, come on. Why you got to do that? And then he's eating sausage afterwards.
Yeah, there's a lot. Jon Snow. I don't even know. I would have to go with the Battle of the Bastards because that really is epic as far as a favorite moment. But I did like his time behind the wall, so
yeah.
He gets
but when they're piled up around him and you think he's just going to get trampled to death, you're like, oh, he can't end this way, and he doesn't.
Yeah, and you mentioned before, he sees the Night King resurrect the dead, so they know he has this ability. And so when they're attacking King's Landing, where do they put all the women and children? In the crypts with dead people that are going to come back to life. It's like, who thought that through?
Not King's Landing.
Yeah. King's Landing.
Winterfell.
I'm sorry.
Well, you know what? It is difficult to get all the places. So I think I told you guys before, when I had read the book, I actually had to buy a map of Westeros and Essos, and I had to place people because there's just too many.
Yeah, I just wanted to see a zombie Joffrey, but we didn't get that.
They say Stannis never smiles. I'll give him a red smile from ear to ear.
Imagine Stannis' terror.
I am trying.
Let's bring up Tyrion, one of those fan favorites, right?
Yeah, rightfully so. He is the heart and soul of this show, I think.
And I really want to know how his joke ends.
I once brought a jackass and a honeycomb into a brothel.
Silence! What happened next?
but you want to know what... That reminds me so much, because, so that's the end of the episode, the finale. And it's such a callback to the first episode. And it just reminded me of that season finale of Seinfeld, where they end up in the jail cell and they have the exact same conversation that they have at the beginning of the season, or the beginning of the show. So it's like this whole cyclical, callback to the beginning.
He says to the characters what the audience wants to, like all those classic scenes between him and Joffrey, where he's just being so sarcastic as much as he can be without being beheaded by Joffrey.
You're talking to a king!
And now I've struck a king. Did my hand fall from my wrist?
And then there's that heartbreaking scene right before Joffrey's poisoning where he's telling him, as, Uncle, go join the minstrels, the dwarves that are there to dancing around for their entertainment. He's like, I'm sure they have an extra costume. And that's when your hatred for Joffrey is the most intense because you're making Tyrion uncomfortable now.
You're going for the lowest common denominator. Short jokes.
But you'd have these human moments, right? And they were in, I don't know, Quarth or something like that. And he's with Missandei and Grey Worm, and he's trying to get them to tell a joke. And it's like this kind of like awkward moment.
Right.
Really just heartwarming in a way.
Yeah. No, I think his character was... there's a reason that he's been nominated 7 times.
And he lives local.
Yes, he
does.
Does he?
Yeah.
What?
He lives in the Hudson Valley.
He was on the cover of Rolling Stone, and the reporter opened the article with both of them on the walkway over the Hudson. And I love the fact that he killed his father on the toilet.
Yeah, that was epic. It was heartbreaking to watch his trial with Shay turning on him, his lover / concubine.
You knew that couldn't end well. As soon as when he was forbidden to bring her to King's Landing, and he does anyway, that's you know that could not end well. Now, I have to tell the story about Peter Dinklage. I didn't watch Game of Thrones, of course, at the time, but after season 1 on Spike TV, does that still exist? Is that still a channel? Spike?
I don't think it is. I think it's something else now.
But they used to have something called the Scream Awards every year. So it was genre type awards. It was very similar to the MTV Movie Awards. And for Best Supporting Actor, Peter Dinklage was up for it, and he won. And I think it was Amber Heard that announced that he was the winner, and he wasn't there to accept the award. But part of the stage set was this big pond of water that they were shooting fireworks over, and a big screen, like an LED screen, came out of the water of just Peter Dinklage's head saying "Thank you for the award," and he was so underwhelmed. He's like, "Yeah, thank you."
And the winner is Peter Dinklage from Game of Thrones.
Hi guys, busy shooting season 2 of Game of Thrones in Croatia at the moment. We got a lot in store for you for season 2, so April, you'll enjoy it. Have a good night.
And he's just this giant head. I hope season 2 is up to your expectations. And
that's pretty funny.
Thank you. And then the head goes back down. So yeah, Tyrion, fan favorite. Sansa.
We didn't really talk about Sansa yet, have we? I liked her story arc. I liked where they put her, and by the end, she had the strength to say, you know what, we're not going to follow you. We'll do our own thing.
Yeah,
you can rule the 6 kingdoms. Winterfell's mine. The North is mine.
Yeah, she grew a lot due to the terrible things that happened to her.
Yeah, well, look at like again what Ramsay did, and then you got Littlefinger who manipulated her for how many?
Yeah. And the Hound kind of says as much during their one scene where they connect during early on in season 8.
Yep.
And he said, if you had come with me, Ramsay, Littlefinger, none of that would have happened. And then she said that she needed that. And that's also had some backlash, because that kind of says that you need to be raped and abused to be a stronger person. So
that's overcoming adversity, right?
Yeah,
it's not necessarily.
Look at it that way. Yeah, I can see both sides of that.
Yeah, no, it's a little maybe.
So from Sansa, we go to Arya, who had quite an interesting journey throughout this. She started out; she looked like 5 years old during the first episode.
Well, I'm going to say this: 2011? 2011, the show first season dropped, and I think that because her and Sophie Turner both had matching tattoos of the date that they were hired. They were both hired on the same day, or both found out that they were on the show. And it was like 2009. So, yeah, I mean, the kid's been, we watched her grow up the last 10 years.
So she was 12 when she started the show, and she seemed much younger just because she's so much shorter than any of the other kids. So
she's still shorter.
Between her and Sophie Turner, I think there's only a year between them. But as little kids, you'd think that there's much more of an age difference there. But her character just went through such an amazing arc. Although I have to say, her time with the Faceless Men, I wasn't really sold on that.
Who are you?
No one.
If a girl says her name, a man will let her sleep under a roof tonight.
A girl has no name.
It was what is going on here?
Right, because you're like, what's going on here? Yeah, it did take on a very fantastical element.
Yeah, whenever those scenes came up, I was like, okay, I think I'm going to rest my eyes for about 5 minutes. And
that's the thing, which is you never really saw that pay off either, because, Cersei was the last on her list to take out. So part of you is thinking, oh, that's not really Jaime, that's Arya, and she's going to kill her. And it didn't happen. At least I don't know if was I the only one who maybe even entertained that idea?
No, that would have been brilliant, though. Yeah. Although how she would have been able to change heights is beyond.
But I think that happens anytime she puts on one of those faces.
It was very reminiscent of like the beginning of Mission Impossible.
Mission Impossible. Rips off her face.
Yeah, but she needed to do this time because, and they have one of these classic moments that sticks in my head, which is she needed to get the training so that she could be, the person that she
the
had.
Assassin. Yeah.
The assassin. Yeah. I mean, in that episode where she's fighting the waif, and she just slashes needle across the candle, and it goes dark, and now she has the advantage.
Right, yeah. No, that was badass. You're right. Yeah. She became a fantastic character. And that is one of the strongest female characters who never, although I could have done without the Arya Gendry sex scene. Like, I just, because you've seen her since she was a kid.
I know.
Yeah, I get it's 10 years later, but I was very uncomfortable with that.
There was something very wrong with that scene.
It was very wrong. It was very voyeuristic and like, I don't need to see this.
It's like almost as if like the creators are like, okay, it's a minute after she turned 17, get her on set, get those clothes off.
What time are you born? Oh, man. I think her relationship with the Hound was the strongest relationship in the entire series.
So many great lines come out of those scenes.
Needle. So she named your sword.
Lots of people name their swords.
Lots of
because he's a phenomenal character, and he's just like and you see that she slowly is starting to become him. And so in that last scene where he goes to confront his brother, he stops her and he says, if you do this, there's no turning back. You are going to be like a loser like me. Walk away and just go live your life. So I love.
Yeah. So let's position ourselves from Arya to the Hound now. And now's a good time to talk about that battle between the Hound and the Mountain.
And that was one thing that they paid off on, because that was his driving. That was his driving force for how long? Almost since we met him as a character.
Although the unmasking of the Mountain was a little bit end of Return of the Jedi for me.
I was going to say he's very Anakin looking, right? Yeah. And how is he? Maybe I missed this, and because you did binge this, like I said, there's a fair amount of stuff early on that I don't remember at all. But how is it that he can take a knife through the skull and just pull it out?
Well, apparently the hand of Cersei, the hand of the Queen, is some kind of sorcerer himself. So I took the Mountain as being like a zombie. He's not really alive anymore.
Okay.
Not in the way that the Night King brings the dead back,
right,
but in a different kind of a way. So he's not human. He's something beyond. So he's like Jason Voorhees, for lack of a better comparison.
Nice, just with a nicer helmet, face mask.
Yeah. So but he does have some memories, because he didn't have any welcome brother news.
No, he knew exactly who he was and what he was there for.
Yeah.
I did like the fact that he just pushed Cersei's lackey there down the steps and smashing his head into the rock. It was like, all right, there you go.
Yeah, it seems the Mountain's modus operandi is crushing heads.
Yes. So, well, listen, if you're good at it, and he went right for it. He went right, fingers in the eyeball sockets. That's where he went.
You see the thumbs in the sockets, but
in the sockets,
I think he just maybe pushed that eye back about an inch, because the Hound could still see him enough to give him a football tackle. Right
as the staircase crumbled, it was a callback to Highlander for me, with Kurgan fighting Ramirez.
And of course, very symbolic, where the Hound has been afraid of fire throughout the whole series, and then
he just succumbs to it. Yep. All right. Well, I'm going to die. I'm going to take you out with me.
Yeah.
Burn.
Then we have Brienne of Tarth. Can we talk about her for a little bit?
She's another strong character that I think kind of got pushed to the sidelines toward the end.
Yeah, she did. Although the non-relationship between her and Tormund,
that was so unfulfilling. Give the man some flesh.
I know, that classic scene where he's talking to the Hound.
I have a beauty waiting for me back in Winterfell. If I ever get back there. Yellow hair, blue eyes, tallest woman you've ever seen. I want to make babies with her. Think of them. Great big monsters that conquer the world.
How did a mad huff like you live this long?
I'm good at killing people.
He was such a great character. And it was just, right, it's like it
was good, yeah.
It was good, yeah. Captain Phasma.
Now, you can't really talk about Brienne without thinking about Jaime Lannister. So if maybe we can lump Jaime and Cersei together, as they often are.
They are, yeah, very much so. And that goes right to the first episode, where you realize that they have this incestuous relationship. And without Jaime, you don't have Bran the Broken shoving the kid out the window.
True.
Years,
Jaime grew on me over the course of the seasons, because Jaime, to begin with, was very like generically in that CW like model turned actor way. He looked exactly like Prince Charming from the Shrek movies. That's the But
that's funny.
He grew on me over the season. I like.
Oh yeah, I think he did change as a character. One of my favorite scenes in season 8 is when he knights Brienne.
Yes, when all those characters are sitting around the fire that haven't been together at all during the series, and now all these plot lines are meeting up. Yeah,
that was a great. That whole episode was just character build up. The calm before the storm, and it was nice to see characters who had not interacted with each other suddenly have dialogue.
It did have sort of a reunion feel to me, right? I mean, I was getting anxious because there were like 6 episodes, and you're like, okay, we just spent one of the critical episodes getting everyone in a room together.
Well, that's it. That was right. Episode 1 was just like this chess building. It was just like, let's just put all our pieces in a row so that we know where they are going forward. Yeah, that's why I think, like I said before, part of the disappointment with this season was the fact that it was only 6 episodes. So you feel like every moment on screen needs to be something epic, but the epicness doesn't, it doesn't matter if it doesn't pay off with the character development.
And talking about payoff, let's bring back Cersei now. I think her character did not get the death that she deserved.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. That is a huge disappointment that this character did not get her comeuppance. Nope.
And again, one of those characters you love to hate. And
yeah,
Cersei commanded the screen every time that she was on.
And she wasn't even in the first 4 episodes of this season.
But we can't talk about Cersei without shame. Shame.
To demonstrate her repentance, she will cast aside all pride, all artifice, and present herself as the gods made her to you, the good people of the city.
Shame! 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 Shame!
Shame.
What? Imagine having to play that scene, walking naked.
The High
through,
Sparrow. That was, again, just a level of like I said, the kind of, machinations that are going on behind the scenes, and, the little commentary on the church and religion and all that other stuff. It's just, that was rough.
Sam Tarly. Let's talk about Sam.
Sam is Sam. He literally came right from Lord of the Rings.
He did. It's Sam Wise. Sam Wise.
Even to the point where at the end he breaks out, "Oh, look what I wrote." And it's like, "Oh, come on. Come on." Look,
but Sam is very much, he is the human element of the show. He is the most human character, or the most sympathetic character, I should say.
The thing about Gilly that you find so interesting is that she said 6 words to you.
And the thing about you that I found so interesting is absolutely nothing.
Yeah, and he's the one who discovered that dragon glass can kill these walkers.
It's very important, very important.
He was very important.
And the fact that he was Jon Snow's only friend up on the Night Watch as well.
Yeah, well, he didn't have many choices, right?
Did you notice he did get his chain in the last episode? You can see his chain.
Yes, he achieved...
now what is it called?
What do they call it? The wise man role, right?
Yeah.
And we must have noticed that Sam's brother is played by the same guy that was in Umbrella Academy as the big hairy dude.
Yeah. Oh, I missed that.
You missed that?
I missed that completely.
Probably because you didn't have the joy of watching it back to back in the past 3 months. So I saw this after Umbrella Academy, so I recognized him right away.
Do we have any guesses as to where Drogon was taking Daenerys after Jon killed her?
Somewhere in Essos.
I don't. Was she dead? Who knows?
Well, I mean, you have enough of these priestesses that can resurrect people floating around.
There you go. There's your Lord of Light.
Yeah.
But I would have liked to have had a tease to at least. I will say that, after all this fighting for who's going to, I mean, that literally has been the outside of Winter is Coming, which is who's going to sit on the Iron Throne. And at the end, you get the one person who can't sit on the throne. He can't get out of his chair. Well, there's no throne now.
He just can't get up. That's
you can prop him there.
Yeah.
But there is no throne because Drogon obviously destroyed it, which I thought was kind of neat. It was forged from Dragonfire, correct? So the fact that it was
destroyed by Dragonfire, yes.
But I didn't. The whole idea of Jon being like the Unsullied, like they would have just killed him. I mean, he outright killed their queen. They followed her, and they just incarcerated him. And then said, all right, well, you're being exiled. Oh, yeah, by the way, we're leaving. So, all right, Jon gets on his horse. He rides around the corner. They leave on their ships, and then he just comes back. Why does he have to go to the north? And we just turned to democracy. It's like, you know what? This whole king thing's not working out. Let's choose. Let's just choose a king.
Well, see, I sort of like how this ended because you get to choose your ending for the characters, right? Does Dany live? Where does Arya go?
Well, that's right. I mean, it does.
In your mind, you can keep it going.
Right. And yeah, you do see, Jon, as they're leaving with the wildlings back into the north, you see that little sprig of grass growing up through the snow. So you're like, oh, the winter's over. But to me, that whole winter buildup was very much a letdown. And how long after this battle do those end scenes take place? Because when Bronn's court and Tyrion and everyone else is sitting there at the table, that place is completely rebuilt. Not only that, the wall is intact. They had to go. If the wall was still broken down, wouldn't you just walk through that as opposed to going through the tunnel?
And my question is, why do they need the wall? There's no more White Walkers. They're friends with the wildlings. Why is there a Night's Watch anymore?
Yeah.
Well, you still need to send the rapists, the robbers, someplace, right?
Yeah, just to march back and forth up there, yeah.
Right.
See, you got to write your own ending.
Yeah. I really liked just that shot of Arya going off on the ship because it was a callback to when she first left as a little kid before she goes and met the faceless people there. But yeah, there was a little Lord of the Ring things going on here.
I like Jim Found. I like Jim Found. Of course, I found this season, just all the seasons, very good. But I mean, the ending for this, I mean, there's a lot of complainers out there, but I liked it. I enjoyed it.
I think, like I said, if we had talked about this last week, I probably would have been a little more agitated. And I'm not happy with some of the resolutions for the characters, but I'm it made you go back and really, really think about this character that we've, Daenerys, that we've been invested in. And I think if you go back and rewatch this, you'll have a completely different take on her. And maybe, like Jim said, it's a little more obvious that she's going down this road, that she is just falling victim to whatever happened to her father. My favorite cameo was the Starbucks coffee cup and then the water bottle the following episode.
Of course. Did you go back and freeze frame it so you could see it?
No, supposedly I didn't see it.
I did. I went back and saw it.
Supposedly it wasn't Ed Sheeran. That's right. There was a Ed Sheeran. I think Martin actually had a cameo, but then they reshot that scene and he was subsequently cut out.
And let's talk about Littlefinger for a second.
Oh, we didn't even bring up Littlefinger because he was actually a fun character. He
is a very close talker, is Littlefinger.
Yeah.
Brothels make a much better investment than ships, I've found. Hoes rarely sink.
He also wanted to get into Sansa's pants something fierce.
Which was a little creepy.
Yes, correct. Yeah, I mean, I can give, buckets per episode as far as the series itself. I think it's definitely worth rewatching. Just because it's a bad ending doesn't mean that the journey to get there should be soiled.
Now, let's throw out a number of confessional questions that we can...
Okay, let's go. I have a number of answers.
Okay, favorite character, right off the bat. Who's your favorite character, Game of Thrones?
Arya.
Mike's Arya?
Absolutely.
Mine, I have a tie between Varys and Ser Jorah.
Varys. We haven't talked about him.
Varys, I thought, and it was to be expected that he was going to be taken out after all of his kind of behind the scenes.
Varys and his little birds, which turns out to be just kids that are nobody notices.
Right. And Ser Jorah, his allegiance to Daenerys, I thought was very noble, and it didn't matter. He just kept coming back. He was like the abused lover. Like he just wanted back in her good graces, and I thought he was a very likable character.
Yes, he was.
From what I understand, they actually wanted him to survive. He was actually supposed to be released into the wild with Jon at the end, but the writers couldn't figure out a way to have him be present when Jon kills Daenerys because there's no way it would happen. He would have stepped in and tried to do something, so that's why they killed him in the previous episode.
What's yours, Jim?
Mine is a mix of two. Tormund, I love.
Yep.
Everything he said was just hilarious.
You can't argue that. The milk chugging scene.
And my other favorite character, also a Mormont, Lyanna Mormont.
Lyanna.
Yeah,
she went out. She went out.
She was great.
I remember when you were born, my lady. You were named for my Aunt Lyanna. It was said she was a great beauty. I'm sure you will be too.
I doubt it. My mother wasn't a great beauty or any other kind of beauty. She was a great warrior, though. She died fighting for your brother, Rob.
every scene she had, I'm like, how old is this girl? Is she like 30-year-old and like a child's
She
body?
commanded. You're right. She commanded that screen, man.
She commanded every scene she was in,
You're
and
right.
her death when the zombie giant that she impaled in the eye, and before she got crushed, awesome. That girl is just deserves every accolade.
Yeah,
good choice. Very good. Love it.
Yep.
Okay, favorite demise? Anybody?
Oh, easily Tommen.
Oh,
remind us.
He steps out of the window. Cersei's,
yes, he commits suicide.
Oh, that's right.
Oh no, it's in that crazy. I mean, it was just a crazy episode. The Winds of Winter. Where the set blows up and whatever, and then he just steps out the window, just like he's like walking to the grocery store.
Yep. You're right. I remember that now. I'm gonna go. Mine actually happened off screen. It's when Arya baked Walder Frey's sons into a pie. That was such a great comeuppance to another despicable character.
Yes.
Where are my sons? Oh, they're here. They're here, your master. What are you talking about? He points to the pie. He opens up the crust and it's like, oh man. We don't need to see it to get a visual.
See, I liked Theon's death because I think he really got to step up finally, that character, and face the Night King. So I think he had a noble death. He was trying to protect Bran.
Redemption.
He did redeem himself.
Yeah. And favorite episode? Is that too tough a question? Because for me, watching it all at once, it kind of molds into one big.
Yeah, I don't know if I
episode.
can necessarily pull out a favorite episode.
Oh, I'll say, what is it? The Ruins of Castamere? The Red Wedding.
The Red Wedding.
That was a shock.
Yeah, you're just.
I mean, they'd already killed off Ned Stark, who was like he was like the main lead of the show. He was the front man for all the posters and all the promotion, and so to kill him was pretty. And
the biggest name actor on the show as well.
Yeah. But that Red Wedding was really a shocker.
But it is hard, right? Battle of the Bastards could be up there.
That is a good one.
Winter could be up there. I mean, there's so many.
Yes.
But do you have one, Jim?
I like the one season 8, the battle against the Army of the Dead. That's just my favorite episode of them all. That one scene where the Dothraki they're the first line of defense, and they go into the night, and you just see all those flames extinguish. And you see 5 Dothraki ride back.
Yeah, you're like, oh crap.
Which makes me ask, where did the rest of the Dothraki come from at the end of when they were marching King's Landing? I thought they all died in the Battle of the Dead, but I guess there was a bunch of them that were holding back.
They were hiding.
Yeah.
Jeff, no favorite episode?
I couldn't pull out one. I'm gonna go with the Red Wedding on that.
Not even the one where the mountain crushes that guy's skull?
That was good. The Mountain and the Viper. That was a great episode. But you sit through that whole episode. I actually rewatched that episode just for that last 5-minute fight scene. Because it is well done. And it is just horrific. That was a good one.
So in terms of buckets, let's give buckets to season 8, because we know if we give buckets to the whole thing, it's going to be 4 or 5 buckets. Easily.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see where we all fall on season 8. So let's give buckets to that particular season.
I went buckets on each episode.
Well, you need a calculator, just average them, okay?
Yeah, I know. Well, there's a reason I married an accountant, because don't have me crunch numbers here. Season 8, I'm gonna have to go like a 3.
Oh.
3.5 at the most. There were some great moments. I mean, like you said, episode 3, the long night, and especially the bells. I think the bell, I gave that like a 4 or 5, but the season finale for me was like a 3.5.
So what did you give Barbarella?
Probably 3.5. But they're different. But they're different animals, right?
You should have your wife come in and do those numbers for you.
Maybe. So I can't give season 8 any higher than a 4. 3.5.
See, I think I would go 4.5 season 8.
Would you really? Okay.
I liked it.
Listen, I wish I liked it more. Like I said, last week it would have been lower.
Yeah. Last episode was a little slow, but
very
looking
slow.
Back on it, you like you said, it sets up so you can kind of figure out where these characters are going in your own imagination.
Did we buy Tyrion crying over his dead brother and sister? Did you buy the fact that he was that moved by maybe the death of his brother, but his sister?
Think of it this way. Just the fact that Cersei actually rang those bells meant there was some kind of fundamental change in her psyche, because before that, she didn't really care about anybody in King's Landing. They could have all died for as much as she... Yeah. But you heard the people saying, please ring the bells, and she finally does. She relents.
Little too late.
So you think that maybe there was some kind of repentance for her that was possible, but it was ripped away.
Oh, I think she just saw defeat and said the hell with it.
That is true.
I was with Jim. I probably would have given it a 4 a week ago, and its stock has risen with me.
Okay.
4.5.
4.5. That's high. The one character we didn't talk about, who is my favorite character, really, but he doesn't show up very much, is Hot Pie.
Oh, of course.
Right? He was set for comic relief, but do you know that this actor, Ben Hockley, he actually opened a Game of Thrones themed bakery in London, and it is called You Know Nothing John Doe, D-O-U-P-A. And I'm like, that's just capitalized, right? You go in there, and there he is, Hot Pie. He's going to make you
he's going to make you hot pie.
Loaf.
So there we go. So this leads us to our official confessional question this week.
Confessionals.
What is your favorite series finale of all time? Not just Game of Thrones.
Let's go, Mike.
Oh, I got to pass. Hold on, you go. And then
pass?
Yeah, because I was so Game of Thrones thinking that I hadn't put a lot of thought into it. So I'm going to scramble here while you tell us what yours is.
You want me to go, Jim?
No, I'm going to go. I have it.
Okay.
You have it? Okay.
MASH.
I'm right there with you. It may not be the best, but it's the one that stuck with you the most.
Yes.
I agree with you. That's mine.
You didn't think the show would ever end, and then it ended, and it was
and it was a show that it wasn't always funny, but it was. I mean, as a kid watching it, you watched religiously every week, and this was like a 2-hour season finale.
Yeah,
and you realize, Hawkeye, who was always played off as a goof and a jokester. You see the ramifications. As a kid, I didn't know what PTSD was. I didn't know, this guy had a mental breakdown. But yeah, it is one of the, and I probably only seen it. I saw it once during the live airing, and then maybe once other. But it's one of those shows that sticks with you. Of course, then we got Aftermath, which they were trying to capitalize. There's a lot of good endings. Jim,
I went with Phineas and Ferb.
What?
Now this is a show that I never would have watched.
Really?
Except for having a son, right? So he went through a Phineas and Ferb period, which he's out of now. But I saw the whole thing. And of course, it's a show about two brothers.
Phineas and Ferb.
This genius level kid who's always building all these contraptions every week. And Ferb is kind of his yes man. And he never says anything. He's like a Laurel and Hardy relation, where you've got the quiet man, you've got the smart guy. The finale of Phineas and Ferb, and it's a cartoon, so they've never aged over the however many years the show was on. And the finale fast forwards them into teen years, and to see where these characters end up on their way to college. Phineas has not a girlfriend, but a friend named Isabella who has a crush on him. It's always unrequited because they're too young. He's not in his girl phase yet. And
he's got that big nose too.
He finally connects with Isabella as a teenager. And I thought it was very moving. If anybody out there is with me, please let me know. But I would say Phineas and Ferb.
Okay, I'm about to check it out. I've seen that show. I've known it, but I didn't know that they had a finale.
So there you go.
We could spend an entire
next week.
Oh, monster marathon.
Godzilla, King of the Monsters.
I was so upset. I thought it was coming out this week. And I'm like, I got a 3-day weekend. I'm going to go see Godzilla on Sunday.
Yeah.
Next week. I'm so disappointed.
Nope. I'm even thinking of traveling to Danbury to the IMAX screen to watch.
Ooh. Can I just tell you, I've heard, because I've had advanced screenings already, and the one complaint, you want to hear the one complaint coming out of this?
Sure.
There's too much emphasis on the monsters.
What?
And on the human action. And I'm like, yes. That's the complaint people are saying.
That's the complaint?
Yep.
The complaint of the last movie is there was too much humanity and not enough monsters.
You can't see. This is it. You just want people complaining.
Yeah.
So what are we pairing Godzilla up?
Yeah. So our classic feature is going to also be a classic Toho, but it's not a Godzilla movie. It's one of the real bizarro, bonkers installments of the Toho original series called Frankenstein Conquers the World. So it involves a giant Frankenstein monster. So I cannot wait for you guys to see this.
Oh, you already
I've got my prediction 1 popcorn bucket.
Wait, for the first one or the second one?
For the second one.
Oh, okay. You just
So
gotta go.
all you
with it,
Soho
right?
fans out there, listen next week, please.
Yeah, we haven't talked monsters since Thanksgiving.
Since Thanksgiving, yeah.
That's right. It's way too long. Overdue.
Good one.
And Mike was not present for that. And there was a reason. Good episode.
I would just like to end this by saying TMI always pays its debts. Thank you for all you new listeners out there.
There you go. Showing.
Oysters, clams, and cockles.
You know nothing, Jon Snow. You know nothing, Jon Snow. Oh, you know nothing, Jon Snow. You know nothing, Jon Snow. You know nothing, Jon Snow.
She's right, you don't.